Another thing is, I'm just trying to get you all like to see and understand is that you guys got to be careful who like talk about money. Talk about money, talk about money, talk about money, okay? Talk about it. But be careful who you're talking about it with, who you're talking about your plans with. Be careful who you're learning things from and who talks you're sitting in. Question everything. That's how I was raised, to question literally everything. Is that true? Does that work for me? What angle is this person coming from? Where did they source their information? What does their background look like? How do they make their money? Is the way that they make their money sustainable? Question it, because if they're going to be your teacher, you need to question it. Don't always go with, oh, this person has a whole lot of money, I must listen to them. Because in this day and age, a lot of people have a lot of money, but they're relying solely on unstable things to make the money, which is something that us want to sound smart girlies may know. I'm not talking about those people who are scared, scared money don't make money. We all know that that phrase. I'm not talking about people who are scared to compromise their time or their comfortability or the schedule that they're used to or where they stay. I'm not talking about people like that. If she was talking about those people, I agree with her. We're talking about those people. She dropped the ball at the end, in my opinion, when she went on to say, these type of women, they only want to sound smart. They don't want to make money. They don't care about making money. She's basically saying like they can know everything under the sun, but when it comes down to making a dollar, a lot of people struggle to produce. And if she's saying that, then I fully agree, because I used to be one of those people. And the thing is not that I was struggling to make money appear. It's not that. It's just not that black and white at the end of the day. I'm going to talk about myself because myself is where I have the most expertise, right? At some point, I had a lot of money coming my way, more than I could even fathom. And I still do. The difference is then I lost a lot of money because I was trusting people around me, such as herself, who, they talk money, and they, I was sitting in tables and sitting with people who would talk money, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm comfortable. They're talking about money. Oh, these people must have my best interest at heart. No, they don't. But these people were family, friends, acquaintances, peers, people who I consider close to me. When I started listening to people that I did not know and people who were actually living a lifestyle that I wanted to live, i.e., they had a family that they were proud of, separate from the one that they came from. They're comfortable. They have the things that they need. To me, wealth is having full access to your time, like having access to your time. Like your time isn't restricted by anyone or anything per se. Obviously, when you're an entrepreneur 25/8. That never stops. But that's what I'm saying. It's your time, but you're choosing to allocate lots of your time to a cause, because at some point you'll get more of your time back later. So, that's why I think it's important that I ran across this whole video, because, a conversation had to come from somewhere. And I always was like told in my personal prophecies and in my chart and in things having to do with myself, that money and teaching about money would actually be a big part of my life. And I used to think like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know about that. I never really wanted to be a teacher, let alone be a teacher about money. It's just like math. Like, I used to hate math until I found out I was really good at math, and I could do math competitions and things like that if I wanted to. But I was just so nervous about it, because like somewhere in my blood, more particularly from, ways that I was raised and where I've come from, like poverty is just such a normal thing. One side of you could have all of that, in the bag, and the other side that you come from could be more so old fashioned, or just, when it comes to money. So, my mom didn't teach me a lot about money except to save, but she didn't even, that's beside the point. My point is, you could be like me and come from mixed surroundings, where you have all this goodness around you and to key into it, and then you have all this BS around you, this foolishness, and like, okay, that's not the way to go. The way they do that, I don't want to do that. Every time I get money, I don't want to blow it. Every time I get money, I don't want to buy a bunch of things that I feel like I need and then just to later feel guilty about the fact that I know I don't need it, but now I have all this stuff. Like now I'm a person where I could have this and that name brand thing, and I can go, okay, I need to pay rent this month, or I need to pay for this month. I'm gonna sell my designer goods, or I'm gonna you know, use my talents to sell a service that I know people may need, like spiritual guidance or chart reading, card pulling. I can do a little girl's hair. I could do some hair. I could do a few heads to make a couple hundred. Like, I am no stranger to making quick money. My discussion is, or even just like mid money, like going to work and getting the money, like working 3 jobs. I've worked 3 jobs. I've worked double shifts since I was 15 years old, since my mother passed away. Ask anybody who knows me. Now, you can ask a lot of people know me and they might say, oh, she always never had money to splurge when she was a teenager, when she was in her early 20s. Well, not my early 20s because, baby, a lot of people didn't know me then, baby, because I had it. I have it, right? But back then, I wasn't known for like having all this money like in college and in school and stuff because I was still in the school system. I was still learning. I was still prioritizing my education and my youth and shit like that. But I was definitely picking up gems along the way. Just because I wasn't exercising them at that time per se, I was picking up the skills. I was working regular jobs, yeah, but that was to pay for school. That was to pay for living. I'm a person who had to take care of myself before I was 18 because I lost a parent. The parent who was taking care of me and providing for me passed on unexpectedly when I was a teenager. So I'm no stranger to working those double shifts and working while I'm in college and working while I'm in high school and trying to do both. And quite frankly, at some point I was saying, F the educational portion, like I'm just going to make this money. And in college, I was trying to focus on school because like, okay, I'm paying for this. Like I need to pay attention. But then when it started being like, okay, I need money to pay for school, that's when I start feeling like, you know what, something's got to give. Like I just want to focus on being a student, but no one around me was supporting me. So, all of that being the case, my point is conversations about money are very important, but you guys need to have them with people who are like-minded around you. You can't just sit in everybody's class, everybody's course, and just have discourse that could be really a scam to make you feel small, make you feel like you're not doing something right. And people know who their target audience is. If they know they're talking to a bunch of people who fell for education traps or who are stuck in a poverty loop, they're going to talk to you in a way that makes you feel like you need their information. No teacher should make you feel like you need them and only them, and their route is king and only. Like your guru, your teacher, your leader should make you feel like the answers are within you and around you at all times. You just have to key into them. So that's what I'm attempting to do at this time. And I hope that I know that this is going to land on someone, so I'm not worried about that. But what I'm saying is I do not want to see people go through shit where they're like, okay, I've heard too many times where I'm seeing people everywhere in their house, clamored up to the Zoom call or to these meetings and things that they're paying for, and these people are telling them like, you need to make money, da da da. They're just talking stuff to them and telling them, okay, you just giving them a bunch of advice that won't even help them in the long term, or probably won't even help them at all. Just so they can collect their $25 for the course that these people just paid for, and they're looking up to you that you got money, but really you got money because you just scammed a bunch of poor people who just so badly want to learn how to make money, and you're just flashing money in front of them. I like, people who will show you what they made their money do for them, but they keep it real about the timeline it took to get there. I use Shoshana as an example. I always forget her last name every time I'm speaking about her, but she's one of my favorite people to watch. I try to talk about more than I'll try to bring more examples to the table more than her, and I'll just share whatever resources I have. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart. I'm not getting paid to talk to you guys about money. I'm doing this because I care and because I want people who come from impoverished backgrounds, whether you're still in poverty or not, to know that there is a way out, and there's nothing wrong with taking your time, making short-term plans, making long-term plans, switching it up. working for yourself than working for a job, and knowing that the job is to fund the business, and when to get a loan and when to do this, and how to know, you know, just having faith in yourself, and knowing that once you make a little splash in your thing, you can expand, and you can constantly expand your business, and you can always make your talents, your skills, and your abilities work for you to make you money. And it might not be a whole lot right off the bat, but that's okay. You will get more. Stop falling for the trap of get rich quick. The get rich quick shit has to stop. Do not let these people scam you. I'm really big into practical, logical, structured, and disciplined ways of making money, but I'm also very much so into attracting, manifesting, and calling in wealth that will assist you in your wealth building process. Because the problem with a lot of us today is, and people like this, if I'm being quite honest, is that they don't regard certain things as valuable. I don't know her. I don't know what she teaches in her classes, the course of the reason I'm even having these conversations with you guys moving forward, because I think this might be a regular thing if you guys are into it. But yeah, they where was I at? Yeah, so these people, they may not regard bargaining, such as like bartering, rather. I said bargaining, but that still matters too. But like bartering is really big. I've tried to do bartering and trade with people just to have them looking at me crazy. But it's like, okay, if you're going through a crisis in your life, and this is just an example of something I experienced in my life before. But if you're going through a crisis in your life, you're mentally effed up. You can't trust anybody in your circle. Everything, all this stuff you had built up is falling to pieces. You done seek guidance from your family. You done seek guidance from your bosses or your peers, and you've gotten nowhere. So now you might be thinking, oh, I might need a little spiritual advice. Okay, you might meet a girl who just wants a cute little tattoo on her shoulder, or on her knee or something, and you do tattoo. You happen to do tattoos. So she's like, look, if you do me a small tattoo, I'll give you an energy reading. I'll give you a spiritual insight on. And it's funny because then we get to these conversations of like respecting people's skills and respecting how people price their skills, and that all matters. All that shit needs to get talked about, because I done came in contact with people who tried to treat me like what I had to offer them did not equate to what they had to offer me in return. Like, okay, what I have doesn't equal that. Like if I do you some braids, like I saw a post where a girl did some Fulani braids, and she bought her a bunch of groceries. That's an equal trade. Okay, even though those are more regular ways of exchanging goods, but I mean when it gets a little bit more technical, a little bit more, so I've had people, but then it's crazy because I'll go to this super elite private business owner friend who works for like fucking Chanel or something, and nobody knows her for real. She has a very small Instagram. She posts her cute little Chanel pictures and da 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 da. But she has plenty money. She has long old money, and she knows the value of that energy read. She knows the value of having a trusted person read your energy for you, because she knows the value of that sort of thing. So it's just one of those things where if you keep taking on the energy and trying to walk in this performative, and I'm using that word again, performative way that you're mocking the forefathers and the people that came before you, you're in a losing game. I don't care what nobody says. Like the way that these people do business is a way that they made it to work for them. So these are basically pirates who taught you how to be a pirate, when before that, you had more in your arsenal when you and your community and your town, city, continent, whatever, was able to work in a certain way where, yeah, we may have exchanged money. Yeah, we may have gave a little seeds for a little cow skin. Yeah, we may have gave a little land for some animal. You guys, value more than just money, because if you put all of your value in just physical paper money or Bitcoin specifically, you're not going to understand the fact that other things hold value. Okay, vintage clothing holds value. especially if it's like name brand stuff, guys, quality stuff, even if it's not name brand. Sometimes real leather, real cotton, real linen, seeds have value, herbs have value. If there's a drought in this state, but they need all of these worms, some people are selling worms. Like, there's so many things that hold value. So I agree, there's so much money out here to be made, but it's about placing value in more than just money, and knowing that sometimes it takes a little bit more thought, a little bit more effort, and that's okay. But yeah, y'all, don't get scammed. Don't just be out here buying courses from just people who are going to leave you with more questions than you came, or just leave you with a bunch of information that may not work for you. Just be careful about that, because that is what I'm sensing could be a thing here, especially if everybody's charging for every little thing. If these people don't have a bunch of information that's free and that can actually help you or motivate you to find more information, thank God this young lady does have a platform where I see that she does offer a lot of information. I didn't click on a lot of videos, but some of the videos I did come across she was talking about pretty legit things when it comes to making money. But there's so much to know, guys. Like, you can make these systems work for you the way that wealthy people has made it work for them, but that doesn't mean that we have to sit comfortable in the structure. So learning about, how these things work, that's important. Everybody should learn how this stuff works, because why would you not want to learn how the economy works? You can't shame somebody for being smart. You should probably partner with them, because you're going to need that smart person to tell you how to protect your money when you make all that money. And then we could just pay each other for what we have, instead of judging people for however they're choosing to live, and however they're choosing, how fast or slow they're choosing to build their wealth. So that is all.